Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Publio. I'm gonna sing a couple of songs so to prepare our environment. Sorry, to prepare our place, prepare our heart for the special meeting tonight. So let's vibrate good energies for all of us. When life lends a hand, it's time to open up your heart. It is time to love one another. It's time to take part, vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart in charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality. And we join Jesus for eternity. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. Vibrate always, loving and serving everyone. When we give our heart in charity, our lives are transforming into songs. Our dreams become reality. And we join Jesus for eternity. The second song, it's a good old man. Blue crystal eyes, color of the sky. Bushy beard, Santa's look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Blue crystal eyes, color of the sky. Gray bushy beard, Santa's look alike. Shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Bezerra de Menezes, apostle of the good, receive our praise, and also our Bezerra de Menezes, apostle of the light, place our pain at the feet of Jesus Christ. Bezerra de Menezes, apostle of the good, receive our praise, and also our heart. Visit disease, and also of the light. Place our pain at the feet of Jesus Christ. Now I'm gonna sing a song that always, the name of the song is Calm Me Down. And it's really, when we listen, we sing and make us calm. Believe me, try it tonight. If I close my eyes to pray, I heard the sound to sea far away. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus cradles me, in his arms I sway. He harmonizes how well done in the hay. Music lifts his spirits and sweet ballet. Nature's law, constant giveaway. In joy, peace, my heart find its way. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus cradles me, his arms I sway. If I close my eyes to pray, Jesus cradles me, in his arms I sway. And the last song called Love in Action. Oh, Jesus, here I am, my knees on the floor, to say thank you, my Lord, for the lights that come to this door. Your love is the key to change the entire world. Using these chains wisely, we will live in peace and harmony. Now I understand, helping others is helping myself. Your words now are so crystal clear. Your teachings have frontiers to see all this transformation. We just have to put love in action. Now I understand helping others is helping myself. Your words now are so crystal clear. Your teachings have no frontiers to see all this transformation. You just have to put love in action.
Wherever you are, glowing seeds of love, as our Master Jesus taught. You will see that behind every sight there's a flame shining bright, tiny spark created by God. I will follow your path, Father, 'cause nobody is alone in life, and the scars of my destiny will be healed by your love. Disseminate wherever you are, glowing seeds of love, as our Master Jesus taught. As our Master Jesus taught. Ooh.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our Spirit Talk. We thank everyone for joining us tonight. And before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We ask you to turn off your phone notifications and to find a quiet place to stay during this time if possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by Q&A. Then, after the presentation, we will have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. Our meeting is being retransmitted today by Continental Conference Americas through their Facebook and also every Wednesday at 8 p.m. by Kardec Radio through their Facebook and YouTube. For those who want to learn more about Spiritism, Get to Know to Spiritism is a free and online course that happens every Saturday at 5:15 p.m. East. A new class started last Saturday, September 7th. However, you can still register and join us. The registration link is in the chat. So contact us if you have any questions. We offer virtual live gospel at home. Did you know that? The gospel at home is an effective support for you and your family's spiritual harmony. We will motivate and guide you in establishing and maintaining the gospel at home study meetings. By posting in the chat, you can request it. Please let us know. You are welcome to include your or someone else's names on the list of positive vibrations for incarnate or discarnate. The person you indicate will be assisted by good spirits to provide healing energy and strengthen goodwill. Please find the link in our chat. The topic of today's special meeting will be suicide prevention. You are not alone, which will be facilitated by our beloved sister Ana Oliveira from Alabama States. Everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and they will be addressed at the end of the talk. And now, we would like to invite our tonight's speaker, who will also do our opening prayer. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Marceli.
Hello. Today we are sweeting, right?
Yes.
The places.
Yeah, last week I was host, you were speaking. So, we make a good team.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Okay, see you later.
Thank you. All right. So, brothers and sisters, everyone, let's just close our eyes. Let's breathe in, breathe out. Be thankful for this moment. Be present here. Feel the sweet vibrations of our brother Jesus with us, of our guardian angel, and take this moment to thank God for our lives. Sometimes our lives have more challenges, more texture, more colors than we feel like we would like, that we feel that we can handle. But life, it's a beautiful gift. It's life is always beautiful when what its purpose is for us, this beautiful gift from God, and life is always worth living. May we, when facing any doubts, despair, hopelessness, be able to find in our true nature of immortal spirit. May we be able to look for help, to seek God, and be able to stay a little longer, fight a little more, try one more time, and stay here because this beautiful earth, this life here, it's much better with each one of us in it. So we thank you, Lord. We thank you, Father, for our lives. We thank you for life all around us. And may we, in our struggles or happiness or choices, may we all always honor life. We ask you to protect all our brothers and sisters who suffer. May they be able to be helped and to be cared for, because we know that there's nothing that can keep us away from God's love, and that Jesus, our brother, he does not forsake anyone. Stay with us, Jesus, today and always. And so be it. All right. So I do have my slides there. You know, guys, this is really a work. Oh, thank you so much. This is really a teamwork here. You know, we are here in the front, me and Marcel today, but there's a lot of our friends who are in the backstage too, helping to bring this to you all. So, you know, tonight it's we're going to talk about, a subject that is very dear to my heart, that is suicide prevention. So the topic is you are not alone, and suicide a silent pandemic. So you are not alone, because I hope I can show you numbers that, and you probably already know that it is a problem not of one person but of a lot of different people, right? So it's really a pandemic. um, you are not alone also relates to the fact that we are the solution really for suicide is really increasing support, right? So if the person who is suffering can really trust that they are not alone, it will be easier for them to seek help. And if we really, right, want to support everybody who is suffering, then we need to convince them, right, that they are not alone. And then we will be able to support them. And hopefully, they will not get to the point where they think the only solution for their pain is to exterminate, their physical life. This is a spiritist group. So we'll also talk about things with the view of the spirit's doctrine. So, and some of you, if you have seen this presentation before, some of the slides are the same. But as a request from my sister, the slides have been updated. She watches all the talks that I give in Portuguese and in English, and then she's like, "Yes, I would." It's September again, but so I actually brought something different, especially because I think it's important for us to talk about all the types of suicide that sometimes we do not think about. But in Spiritism, we consider those as important also. So, again, is suicide common? That is my question. And of course, as good students, as people who know, right, you know the answer. Yes, it is really common. So those are WHO numbers. A few things about suicide numbers is really hard. Whatever numbers we see, they are the top of the pyramid, right? It's probably an underrepresentation because there are a lot of cases that would not be counted, right? It takes a lot of, data to really, and a lot of investigation, to really know, was that just a car accident, for example, or it was an attempt at one's life, so, whatever we know, it's really the tip of the iceberg. But the numbers we have, they're already scary enough, and we know that they are increasing, right? Especially post-pandemic. So suicide, the second leading cause of death among young people, right? So young teenagers and also young adults, 15 to 29, right? Close to 800,000 people die by suicide every year. So these are numbers from the WHO. This will always be also a lag in the numbers. So sometimes if you're searching right now, you probably will not see 2024 numbers. You would see maybe 2022, right? Because it takes some time to collect all those numbers and verify them. But that is an alarming number, right? So, in the world, there will be like around one death per every 40 seconds. More deaths from suicide than from homicide and war together, although are in a lot of wars currently. So maybe, we'll need to verify some of those numbers. But we don't talk much about it, right? But that is one of the solutions too, is to talk about it so that we can minimize the stigma associated with that, and we can give people the support and the help that they need. So if you look in the map, this is death rate. So it's like a number of suicides adjusted by population. So you can see, so that you don't see more cases just because they have more people there. So it's a rate, but you can see that the whole world has, cases, right? It has some kind of shade of blue, and the darker the blue, higher the rate, the number per 100,000 people in that country. If we think about numbers in terms of age, so this is from 2017. Like I said, I mentioned about the lag, but you can see that the all age groups are represented, even here, 5 to 14-year-olds, right? So it's a problem of children too. We are seeing a lot of increasing in the elderly, right? So that is also a problem in people over 70 years old. But we can see that, just like the map, where every country is represented, unfortunately, once we look at the suicide rates by age, we also see, pretty much all, ages represented. Since we are here with the Canadian group, I thought I would show a little bit of some of the numbers that are specific to Canada. So I look at this data from the government. So it also impacts all ages and backgrounds in Canada, so not differently from the worldwide, statistics. So every year, approximately 4,500 people in Canada die by suicide. What it's around 12 people dying by suicide every day, right? But one thing too is that these were the people who actually died from suicide. But when we talk about suicide, we have people who die, but we will have people also who attempt. And, thankfully they were not successful. And people that might be thinking about suicide, but they have not attempted. So every day, more than 200 people in Canada attempt suicide, right? So we have more attempts than, deaths. But for every death by suicide, at least 7 to 10 loved ones are significantly affected by the loss. So that's why it's such a pandemic, and it's such a widespread problem, because it does, of course, affects the person who dies of suicide, but it also affects, on average, 7 to 10 people around that person, right? I think I always remember, right, my classmates who died of suicide. um, Even if I was not close to them, I still remember, because that shocks you, right? That person was in the classroom, maybe once a week with you for 1 hour. And, you always wonder. So I cannot even imagine how people that were very close to that person might, feel. So usually you have, and in Canada too, you have higher um, suicide rates among men than women. So worldwide, women attempt more, but they are less successful. Men usually use more effective, means. But in Canada too, like I just showed you, in the WHO statistics, suicide is the second leading cause of death among youth and young adults, right? Here, their age group is a little bit wider, right? So it's 15 to 39 years old. So that is very striking already, right? Any life loss, it's already, a problem. But we're talking about a lot of people here. If we add to this the other ways that people also um, die of suicide. Sometimes now, some they are growing because they're supported by law, like um, clinician assisted suicide. But also, as a spiritist, there's also every time that we do anything to ourselves, to our body, to our spirit, that it would decrease the amount of years we had, right? That will be prejudicial to our health. That is also a slow and kind of very unconscious kind of way of suicide. So we'll talk about those. And the I will give you the statistics. And here again is from the government of Canada. And in Canada is called, the law is called MAID, or medical assistance in dying. And in 2022, there were 13,241 um, medical assistance in dying provisions reported in Canada. So remember, I showed you the numbers of suicides, and it was 4,500, right? But you see here, 12 to 13,241. So three times more than that, at least, right? And that accounts for 4.1% of all deaths in Canada, the medical assistance um, suicide, right? So for that year in 2022, there were 16,104 requests, and 13,241 actually people actually died through that method, right? So we can see that not everybody that requests, the this option, because it's allowed by law in this country, and in other countries it's following the same pattern. So we see more and more countries, and even here in the US, more and more states actually legalizing this. So not everybody, but you can see here the vast majority. A few people in the Canada side, they say, few people, they give up. They just don't want to do it anymore. Then a few die before they actually go through all the paperwork. But you can see that three times more in that year than the average for the year of suicides were, medical assistance in dying. If we look at the cumulative, because every year, um, and these reports are online and available. So this law became legislation, was approved in 2016. So if you add all these years, then it comes to the total number of medically assisted deaths in Canada since the law became, you know, passed in 2016, to 44,958 people, right? So that is a lot of people, right? And I wanted to show you guys, or to read to you, the question 953 of the Spirit's book, where Kardec actually asks the spirits, when individuals see an inevitable and terrible death in front of them, is it wrong to shorten their suffering by a few moments through intentional death? And the spirits say it's always wrong not to wait for the term set by God. Besides, how can they tell with certainty whether their time has indeed come, despite appearances, or whether they might receive some unexpected help at the last moment? And then Kardec continues, we admit that suicide is reprehensible under ordinary circumstances, but we are supposing a cause in which death is inevitable and in which life is only shortened by a few instants. And the spirits still say, nevertheless, it displays a lack of resignation and of submission to the will of the Creator. So this is one of those questions that has, so it's 953A, B, and C. So in C, Kardec continues a little bit and he says, what in this case are the consequences of such action? And the Spirit says, as always, an expiation in proportion to the seriousness of the wrong according to the circumstances, right? So um, it is the thing that in the medically assisted or in the more conventional suicide, right, the self-imposed and all by oneself, the intention there is to alleviate a pain, right? But the spirits are telling us as immortal spirits that by shortening, right, our life, even though even taking into consideration that we suffer, that is not gonna make our suffering go away, right? So that is the biggest myth or the big illusion of suicide, medical assisted or not, is that that pain will go away. We have a lot in the Spiritist literature that unfortunately tells us that that is not the case. So what about that suicide, for example? I know I have diabetes, but I just love candy. So I'm eating cakes, all the sweets every day, and I really don't care. Can that be considered a suicide? A type of suicide? And, for Spiritism, yes. And we have a big example, right, from Andrew Lewis in the book, Our Home, or Astral City. Sometimes you find that book, and there's also a movie within two, with these two titles. And Andrew Lewis, when he gets into the umbra, right, when he discarnates, so he dies, his body dies, but his spirit, of course, lives on. And in this place that he is, because he's not very harmonized, right, he's really disturbed, from that experience, and he never really thought about the afterlife. He never had a life that was very spiritual, it was very material. He actually can hear the other spirits there calling him a suicide, and he's like, what are you talking about? I didn't do that. I even had an operation, I wanted to get better. But then he realizes that all the alcohol he was doing, all the way that he was living his life without any commitments with anything, all those pleasures, really, they were decreasing the years that he had. It was making, right, prejudices. It was actually destroying his physical body too, right? And in question 952, Kardec asks, is it considered suicide for those who die as victims of the abuse of their own passions, which they knew would hasten their end, but which they could no longer resist because habit turned their passions into true physical needs? And the Spirit says it's a moral suicide. Don't you see that they are doubly guilty in such case? They lack courage and yield to brutishness. Moreover, they forget about God. And then Kardec says, are they more or less guilty than those who shorten their life out of despair? And the Spirit says they are guiltier because they had time to reason about their suicide. For those who die of suicide on the spur of the moment, there is sometimes a kind of delirium that approaches insanity. The former will be punished much more than the latter because of punishments are always in proportion to the awareness of one's wrongdoing, right? So that's why it's a a pandemic. That's why no one is alone. We are all in this together, because sometimes the things that we do to our own body, right, they can be decreasing, our time here on earth, right? So we are actually doing things that are harmful, right, and decreasing the time that we have here. And sometimes we do it because we don't know, um, but sometimes we do it because we can just not stop, right? It brings us some kind of pleasure, and we just cannot, stop doing that. So, that's why we really need to have compassion with one another, because, this kind of behavior in either extreme, maybe on a small scale, or in a very punctual and very abrupt and very efficient way. But you can see that in the continuum is the same thing that we're all kind of doing, right? So one thing, even before I continue, that I want to mention, I know that when we talk about suicide, and I know that there are a lot of people who come to the Spirit Center because a family member, maybe a son or daughter, maybe a parent, or somebody that, a husband or wife, so a partner, somebody that they love died of suicide, and they come looking for answers, right? And even us, we are spiritists, so we study these books. We study the Spirit's book. Over here, we talk about the gospel, and the gospel also mentions suicide. In the book Heaven and Hell, towards the second part of the book is actually examples of spirits who discarnate, and saying how their lives is in the spiritual world now. And Kardec groups them by, things that they did. And there's a whole section on spirits who died of suicide. So we have so many books that talks to us about, the importance of living and of life, and preserving life and living life to the fullest. That sometimes people come, but I don't want, Spiritism, it's really the consoler. So I don't want to leave anybody with this, oh my gosh, what now? For my loved one, what now? Because remember, God does not forsake anybody. But I wanted to really talk about, what do the spirits tell us? So in the Spirit's book, to the question 957, we know we are talking about general consequences of this, that this is not the solution, right? But we cannot say in each specific case what that is going to cause, right? What it will be the consequence. Remember, the law is justice, right? But it's also mercy, right? So God, it's a loving God, and He's just. But His justice comes with all His love that He has for us, and all the mercy, right, that comes with that justice. It's not like our justice, that most of the times is merciless, right? Has no mercy around it, like zero tolerance. It's not like that. So Kardec asked, in general, what are the consequences of suicide on the state of the spirit? And the Spirit said the consequences of suicide vary widely. There are no set penalties in all cases, and in all cases, they are always relative, the causes that produce them. Let me read it again. So the consequences of suicide vary widely. There are no set penalties, and in all cases, they are always relative to the causes that produce them. One consequence from which those who die of suicide cannot escape, however, is disappointment, right? Is that illusion. Okay, now I'm not going to suffer anymore. Now I am dead, right? Therefore, I don't feel anything. But death does not exist, not the death of the spirit, the death of the physical body, yes. So the spirits continue. Besides, the fate is not the same for all. It depends on the circumstances. Some expiate their wrong at once, where others do so in a new life that will be worse than the one whose course they have interrupted, right? So even there are other chances to, right, to reincarnate and start over and, overcome that, temptation of self exterminate, right? So that's one thing I want to really keep it, very clear to all of us that, this, it's not, there's no way for me to say, oh, everybody that dies of suicide will do this or do that. And I really urge all the loved ones, they're already affected by missing their loved ones, but also, right, if they already feel in their convictions that maybe that is not the best thing. Yes, that's not the best thing, but remember, God is merciful. So don't despair, right? Um, so suicide affects everyone: athletes, children, elderly, healthcare workers, artists, people with money, people without money. So, what are some of the signs, right? So, it depends from person to person, but any signs of hopelessness, it's a warning sign, right? So a different behavior, lack of interest, isolation, right? All of those things. And remember, isolation is really like physical isolation. Sometimes we are in this society, it's so easy to really be connected through the internet, for example, digital media, but we are not connected, in person, right? We can text people, but we do not meet them anymore. And we are social beings, this, all of these human to human interaction, it actually strengthens our mental health, right? So lack of interest, all of this, but anything that decreases the sense of hope, it's a warning sign. And of course, if you mix that sense of hopelessness with drugs and alcohol, the situation really can become even more urgent. Is suicide preventable? Yes, it is, right? And it all depends on identifying and supporting. So identifying when we ourselves need the help, or others around us need help, and supporting, ourselves so that we can improve, we can feel better, and we can overcome that crisis. So if someone tells you that they are considering suicide, if you think that somebody is considering suicide, talk to them, right? Don't be afraid to think by thinking, oh, I'm going to put ideas in their head. No, that's what research shows. There are a lot of people who search suicide. So remember that I said, thankfully, not every suicide attempt is successful. So we can actually study the people who tried but did not succeed, and try to understand what led them to that. Is there some risk factors? Because if I know the causes, then I can prevent. So that's what we learn is a big thing. Sometimes people are afraid of that. Of course, if you ask somebody a question, um, you need to be prepared for the answer, right? So sometimes it's even worth to kind of practice, the faces you're gonna make. If you're very expressive, or if you are somebody who's very dramatic, right? So we have to make sure that we are asking because we really want to help that person, right? But don't feel like you have to solve all their problems. That's not it. You're just there to listen to them, and to direct them, to people that can help them, especially professionals who study a lot about the psychic, the emotions, and all of those things, like psychiatrists, psychologists, and others. So there's no perfect way of asking. So this is from the American Society of Suicide Prevention, here in the US. And they had this little thing on Instagram one time. And it talks exactly about that. So it might take you some practice, right, So some ways that you can check in is like, how are you really? Right? Because most of the time, how are you? The answer is, I'm okay, right? Another way to say is, I care a lot about you and I wanted to check in. It seems like you may be going through a lot. How is your mental health? Right? Do you ever have thoughts of ending your life? Do things ever get so overwhelming that you think about killing yourself? Do you have a plan or means to act on your thoughts of suicide? Right? So it is a difficult conversation to have, right? So, if you feel uneasy, it's normal. I mean, you cannot, that is not something that we can just ask simply or take lightly, right? But it's important. And that's why you're not putting ideas into people's head when you ask them, are you thinking about suicide? Are you thinking about killing yourself? Are you thinking about ending your life? Most of the time they have that sense of relief because they probably already said things like that. Oh, I don't, I want to give up, oh, this life, I never can get a break, this thing is so, this life thing is so hard right now. But nobody took them seriously, right? So finally you are actually getting what they are trying to say, and what they are trying to say, it is hard. So it's really very courageous for somebody to share that. But the general thing, do not judge or condemn people, do not minimize their pain, do not give your opinion, do not preach or teach, do not use empty words of encouragement. So if you don't know much what to say, it's okay, listen and ask what are the things that the person thought that they can do in that situation, right? So in Canada, there's specific, places that you can call. Most of them, there's always some kind of hotline 24/7 where people, if they really feel that urge, they can call, right? And most of the places you can call along with somebody else. You cannot call for somebody else, but you can dial and the person will be, it can be in a three-way conversation. So these resources are also in the chat. So, it's all about body, mind, and spirit. Taking care of yourself, right? Is your body strong? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? Are you exercising? Right? I'm not such a fan of exercise. I mean, I love dancing, but I cannot, as a scientist, I have to, believe the data if I see that it's coming. But exercise is really, important. And it doesn't need to be exercise that you don't like. It can be walking, right? Whatever suits you. Just keep moving, right? Your mind, right? What you read. If the news really upset you, then don't watch the news, right? What I do is like I watch the news through comedian. That's the only way I can really, receive or digest that, right? So I try to not be on the news the whole time because I know I can't really empathize with that, and that really is not very good for me and our spirit. So the prayer, the studies, the good, disconnecting ourselves a lot from this materialistic idea of who we need to be. We need to have this specific makeup or look a certain way. We have to have a certain weight. We have to have a certain, grade in school. How much pressure we're putting in our young people, right? How much, these things do not define us, right? We are immortal spirits, is who we really are that is important, right? And if your friends are not, understanding that, if you do not have a tribe, you need other friends. I mean, I'm sorry, we we love them too, but if they don't get you, I promise you there are people who will. So let's just find those people so that we can be strong, right? And that's the thing, prayer, develop yourself as, spiritually too. So I'm almost finished, and what I really want to leave as a final, message is really, suicide is not a solution. So remember, most of the time the reason to go in this path is because we want the pain to go away. We just want to die. Well, the death does not exist because we are immortal spirits, so we're not gonna die. And the suffering does not go away with the death of the physical body, right? The pain can continue, and the pain continues and even can be more intense. And we have a lot of different books, the memoirs of a suicide, action and reaction, heaven and hell, like I mentioned previously. There are a lot of books that, in the spiritist literature that talk about that. I also wanted to, because, probably a lot of spiritists also, watch this, to put a little plug for the suicidenever.com website. This is a work of a group of spiritists, workers from the Alta de Souza group, where there are some resources there. For example, one of the very neat things there is that you can find messages, consoling messages about, preserving life, and that suicide is not a solution, in different languages. So they already formatted, and you can share those in your digital media. So you never know who will look at that, and will need that, and will feel actually consoled, and will think twice, and will take a breath, and will look for some help because of messages like that. So I encourage you guys to check it out. And I have just two messages to finish. This one is from the Astro City or No Solar book, where is this series from the Spirit under Lewis, where he actually teaches us, how is the life in the spiritual world. So No Solar is the first book. So in this, he says that life does not cease, and death is a dark game of illusions. Closing the eyes of the body does not decide our destinies. You have to navigate your own drama or comedy. So, it's this thing. Life is worth living. Yes, we do need, we do need to go through these things. Spiritism really show us a different meaning for pain, right? And not every pain needs to lead to so much suffer. The gospel even talks about, suffering well and not suffering well. So, we really have to navigate our own drama and our own comedy, right? Um, really dying, like in under Lewis says here, death is just this dark game of illusions, right? So closing the eyes, the death of the physical body does not decide our destinies. We live on, right? And from Romans, and this letter from Paul, where he says, "For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any power, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Jesus Christ our Lord." So we are not alone. No one is, right? We have challenges in our lives, but we have resources too. No one is alone. We do need to ask, and we need to keep our eyes open for help, but it's also our charitable, duty to keep our eyes open to our brothers and sisters who suffer around us. And, what a wonderful way, to be of help, than helping somebody who is suffering so much that they are thinking about giving up. And just by listening to them and connecting them with resources, with service, with people who can help, but really showing that first moment that you really care. You might be scared a little bit, you might be preoccupied with them, you might, be thinking, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But you believe that they are worth, having that help, and you believe that there is help out there, and that the suicide is not the solution. So I thank you all for, listening. And really, that's the message, that life is always worth living. Thank you so much.
Hey again, Anna. Thank you so much for your presentation, your beautiful and very important presentation, right? This is a very serious subject that we
Hmm.
need to talk. And
Hmm.
I believe that not only in September, right? But
Right, right.
yeah, but thank God we have like a month dedicated to this, right?
Right.
Prevent that, right?
Right,
This
but
is
I really think that's the biggest message too. Is like it's good that we are now thinking about it. We are more alert, but people need help, and we need to be really,
able, right?
preserving life and helping each other all months, right,
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah, as Jesus said, love one another, right? So
Hmm.
helping someone who is suffering, struggling with something, then in thinking about suicidal thoughts, like it's loving the person, right? If
Right.
we can help this people or person. Um, we do have one question
Hmm.
here um, from our friend Rodrigo Villar.
Hmm.
And this one, it's because my computer is a little is
So,
low today. So his question is, what can we do to avoid suicidal thoughts, and how spiritism can help?
right. That's a great question. So, one of the things that research also knows is that spirituality, if you have any religious belief, that protects you from suicide. You might have those thoughts, but you would not act on them, right? So it's protective. So that is one thing. So we know that people who have any, and it doesn't need just to be spiritism, it can be any religious belief. That is a little protective when we think about suicide. But another thing that this question really brought to my attention, and I didn't mention, is that mediums, right, and mediumship. So
Mhm.
if you are depressed, then that feeling, right, if you have this sensitivity, you might be feeling what you are feeling, but also what the spirits around you are feeling or want you to feel. So it can have an obsession part of that too, right? It always starts with us. We open a little bit that window, but that is something else. So every time we have a thought, we need to ask, is this mine? Really? Where's this coming from? Why I'm thinking about that, right? And if it's not a beneficial thought, then switch that thought to another one, right? Try not to keep thinking about that. But all this extreme pain and this feeling of giving up is almost like being so emotionally tired. So anything that we can do to nourish our spirit, to nourish our body, that is going to help us not feel so much down that road, even if we have already maybe some genetic predisposition to be a little bit more on the sad side than on the happy
Mhm.
one. But just because we have some tendencies doesn't mean that we would have to act on them, right? We can always do something to try to manage them, and why not to see if can you transform that.
Mhm. Thank you. That's why it's so important to pray and watch,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Mhm. And this is not a question, but Publio put a comment that's very important for us. We already know that depression is very close to suicidal thoughts.
Hmm.
Beside spiritism or religious group, we can ask for help in case of this thought, right?
Right, right, for sure. So that's the whole thing, is like asking for help and asking if you can help. The thing is, sometimes if the person is really depressed, if they really sad, it's really hard for them to make decisions or to ask for help. So that's why if we are around and I already know that you are this type of person, and then you come to work one day and you're totally different, right? I can ask, right? I don't need to be your psychologist because I'm not a psychologist, but
Mm-hmm.
I can say, Marceli, would you like to go? Have you considered that? If I
Yeah.
go with you, or if I can drive you, would you be
Yeah.
happy? But if somebody had a broken leg, you would
Mm-hmm.
never tell them, stand up from the sofa. You can
Mm-hmm.
walk if you want to,
Yeah.
right? Just have some more, oh, you don't have enough, goodwill. Just, you can do it. Nobody would say that. But if
Yeah.
somebody's depressed, sometimes we tend to think that the
It's
person can do it
it's
if they
nothing,
want
right?
to,
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
just because it's emotional, or it's psychological instead of physical, right? But
Yeah.
nobody's going to tell people with a broken arm to be, lifting weights or anything
It's
like
true.
that, right? If you
Yeah.
have high blood pressure, nobody's going to say don't take your medicine, or
Mm-hmm.
just go run a marathon, eat whatever you want, you'll be fine. No, we would say that, so
It's
it's a
true.
little bit harder, but there's a lot of help out there. So the whole thing is to watch. I think for every single one of us is trying not to get to the point of
Mm-hmm.
really in all that despair and all that pain, right? Because it usually doesn't come just like that. It can be building through
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's true.
So to ask for help, but to others too, hopefully we have some people that can see something, and people usually give a lot of signs, but
Mm-hmm.
in this society we live, sometimes we think we're being nosy, but we really are being indifferent, right? So there is
Mm-hmm.
a difference between wanting to know how you're feeling because I want to know about your life, I want to gossip
Mm-hmm.
about that, but when I genuinely want just to make sure that you are okay, right? If
Mm-hmm.
there's anything I can do to help you. And
Yeah.
sometimes people are afraid, but I would rather lose even a friendship because I asked, and the person didn't need help, or they were upset with me, than not asking and
Yeah.
not helping the person,
Yeah.
so sometimes we also have to choose what we would be, more in peace with.
At least you tried, right? You can lose the friendship, but at least you try to help, right?
Right, right,
And about this his comment, there is one thing that we need to talk. I believe that sometimes we, or people who are having these thoughts, they don't ask for help because sometimes they are ashamed.
right,
They don't know what the other side, what they are gonna think about the my
right.
of what they are thinking
Hmm.
of their thoughts.
Hmm.
So and sometimes we just need someone to be there, not talking anything, right?
Right,
Just feel embraced, right?
right.
It's someone who like, just like, if you want to talk, you can talk, I will be here. If you want to listen something, you can ask, but if not, I will be here with you. You are not alone, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes we don't have that, right?
Right. Hmm.
Yeah, but thank you so much
No
once again. It
problem.
was really great, your presentation.
Thank
Okay,
you, friend.
have a good night. And thank you for your participation in the chat. We will now move to the preparation for the tonight's spiritual treatment. PAS is a transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. PASes help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with health and positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from passes, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may close your eyes if you wish to help with mentalization. During the pass, the water you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that you and your family can benefit from. Now we will make a prayer in preparation for the Pass, which will be our closing prayer as well. So at this moment, I ask you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. Elevate our thoughts, thinking in Jesus, dear Lord. We would like to thank you for the opportunity to be here one more Tuesday in order to learn more about your teachings. We thank you for this blessed night and for all the lessons we had tonight. May we always have joy in living, and may we always remember that suffering does not end when material life ends. May we be instrument of love in people's lives, and may we be able to help people who are suffering, showing your love for all humanity. We are not alone, and you will never abandon us. We pray for all suicidal spirits so that they may find peace and make amendments for their mistakes. We also pray for people who may be thinking about suicide at this moment. May these people give up their intentions, and may they be assisted by the good spirits in their most intimate needs. Please, Lord, bless us all, our families, friends, all the people who have their names on the vibration list, and all the humanity. May your love reach the hearts of all people in this on this planet. Thank you for everything you have done for us, and please, Jesus, stay with us today and always. So be it.
Let's get ready for the pass and water fluidification. Please get a container with clean water to be fluidified. Brothers and sisters, it does not matter where you are, what type of hardships you are going through. Jesus is always ready to come and help us. Place yourself in a comfortable position which can make it easy for you to reach concentration and receptiveness. Breathe slowly and easily. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Fill up your lungs with air and let it out very slowly. Let tranquility and peace energies penetrate your lungs and move throughout your body. Your soul in harmony with your body feels easy and in peace. Let's imagine Jesus' passage. A clear day, the sun's golden rays illuminate the happy passage in Capharnaum. A lot of white houses, multicolored vines, and hopping birds fill the landscape with optimism. The news about cures attracted the crowd in need. Suddenly, Jesus appears slim and handsome. His tunic was hanging down to his feet. At sunset, all those with sick people hit by several illnesses would bring them, and as he placed his hands over each one, he would heal them. This is what Luke the evangelist says. Let's imagine Jesus approaching you. He holds his friendly hands over our head. Notice that from his generous hands, a waterfall with clear and pure water originated from his love come to bathe you. It flows on your head, goes down your shoulders, bathes all your being, and brings you peace, serenity, and balance. They remove all impurities and pacify you. Feel the water bathing you, cleaning. Breathe. Now, imagine Jesus as a sun before you. His light, His warmth surrounds you. Feel the healing energy that comes from Jesus towards you. He hears your prayers. Trust Him. His love is endless and it follows you and protects you. It provides you with everything you need. Have faith. Absorb the healing energy from Jesus. His light surrounds you. Feel the energy going through all your body. Feel stronger and in peace. Lord Jesus, our divine friend, reach out your generous hands, Lord, and change this water into medicine for our physical and spiritual illnesses. Protect us, Jesus, with your peace. Spread those vibrations of love throughout my home, Lord. May peace, health, and tranquility reign here. We are very grateful to you, Jesus. Stay with us today and forever. Thank God. Please remember to use the fluidified water.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Conquerors Americas at 8:30 p.m. East, and next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. Don't forget to follow us for Spiritism Canada on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at the Spiritism Group Path and the Spiritism Group Path of the Light on Facebook as well. Have a good night.
Crystal eyes, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa's look alike, shine on your brothers on there, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Crystal eyes, colors of the sky, gray bushy beard, Santa look alike, shine on your brothers on earth, suffering, living joy, or in pain. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of the good, receive our prayers and also our heart. Bezerra de Menezes, Apostle of